All right, I've been avoiding this for a while now because of the person that is involved. But to be quite honest, I've had enough of the bullshit, and we're just going to get down to it. The developer of Operation Harsh Doorstop, a game that I've covered on this channel in the past, and somebody that I've had a long history with by the name of Connor, or Blue Drake 42, he put a tweet out the other day that I gotta say is one of the craziest things that I've probably seen a developer tweet. Now, just for context, Operation Harsh Doorstop is a multiplayer sandbox where you can play single player, multiplayer, there's co-op modes, and it's got a modding SDK that a lot of people have been working on and trying to build up more content for, leading up to their 1.0 launch. It's a free-to-play game that Blue Drake has been talking about and promoting for the last several years now, and pretty much every content creator that I know has played the game in the past, covered it, given their honest thoughts on it, and they basically said it's kind of like it's a mixed experience. There's nothing really great about it, and it does nothing better than other games in the genre, and you can just go play those games and have better experiences. But it's also not the worst game in the world. If you go back and watch my coverage of the game at launch or when they first released into early access, I basically said, like, the gunplay is cool, visuals look great, the AI is very much lacking, and at the time, there really wasn't a lot of content because the modding platform had basically just been released. We were going to revisit it later, but as you'll see in this video, that's probably never going to fucking happen. Let's talk about it. A warning to every content creator when our update for Operation Harsh Doorstop drops. If you've taken over 10,000 USD in payments from studios we compete with in the last 12 months, and you don't disclose that in any review you create about our game, then you and I will have legal problems. You aren't an independent journalist, you are a paid contractor for our competitor, and I'm tired of watching you all get paid off to do hit pieces on games that don't fork cash over to you. I will post more warnings clarifying this as we get closer to the release date, but TLDR, if you're just going to post fake content attacking games that don't pay you off, then quite frankly, I don't want you covering our game at all. I know this might come as a shock to many of you who are used to community managers being paid off to stroke your ego and beg you for coverage, but you'll find out very quickly that we don't operate that way. Every single person who retweets this will receive a Steam key to our launch playtest. I want to figure out which of you are the good ones. I don't want fake people in my corner. Now, to give context to where this is all coming from, a few months ago, Blue Drake put out a video that at the time was titled, "You Were Being Lied to About Paid Sponsorships," or whatever it was called, in which he basically spent 45 minutes trying to manipulate his audience into believing that I don't disclose paid sponsorships on this channel. Which, if you've been a fan of the channel, you know every time I put a sponsored video out, I get shit on for it. Read the comments on any sponsored video I ever do. Trust me, you guys know when I'm sponsored. But there has never been a time where I have posted a video that was sponsored that wasn't disclosed. Blue Drake likes to believe in fairy tale land that just isn't the case. During that time, a few months ago, when all of this was going down, he posted 2 videos, one of which I believe has been unlisted now, in which he's just trying desperately to attack my character, to get his audience to believe that I'm saying good things about games while being paid, while not telling you guys that I'm being paid. One of the big ones that he believes in his heart of hearts that I am sponsored and being consistently contracted by Delta Force to put out positive coverage on and not telling you guys about it. Why he believes this? Well, because I'm in the content creator Discord, a Discord that is used by a ton of different creators to basically just get updates about the game. If they're doing giveaways for keys, we can jump into that, which is why I was initially in there in the first place. And the big point of those videos at the time was to manipulate his audience so badly that they would click a link and report this channel to the FTC for breaking guidelines that he can't prove I broke. Yeah, a guy I used to consider a friend weaponized his audience to try to fuck me, all because, ironically, it started with a private DM that him and I had, in which I asked him why he wasn't disclosing his affiliation with a company called Blacksite that's doing marketing and promotion for games that he's talking about on his channel, and he owned the fucking company. I say owned because since he put these videos out and I started to, rebuttal to him and actually provide proof and call him out, he decided to sell his ownership stake in the company. Interesting. But nowhere in those videos was he disclosing that he owned the company that's tasked with doing the marketing for the game that he's telling you guys in the videos is so fucking good. The irony, I hope, isn't lost on anybody here. Now, Blue Drake has since gone back and added the necessary things in the description to let people know that there is an affiliation. But the fact is we had a private conversation. I told him in private that I didn't think he was doing this above board. This was 3 years ago on a video that he did for SCP 5K. At the time, it was SCP Pandemic. He told me back then that he would make the changes and everything would be good. And then he did it again earlier last year when it came to a game called Incursion Red River. Blacksite was the promoter for the company. He owns Blacksite and didn't disclose that connection in any of the videos he made. I called him out publicly on that one, and he has been seething ever since. Around that same time, he also developed an AI tool that was essentially being used by him to take over YouTube. He wanted to essentially eradicate YouTubers by making an AI that you can input your voice into as a YouTuber. It would automate the creation of videos, and you are basically hands off and you let an AI run the channel. I'd pull up the tweets showing you exactly what he was saying at the time, but his entire social media was scrubbed up until like May of last year. Interesting. A lot of people were calling him out for this, making videos, and there was a lot of drama around it. I put out a single tweet in which I said, I want to make a video on it, but I don't want to get involved with Blue Drake shit. This was in April or May of last year. And ever since that tweet, he has been foaming at the mouth, trying to come up with any reason he can to try to fuck me publicly. He's been attacking me, he's been yapping his mouth, and now we're here. He's not only threatening me with this, although this is an indirect threat. If you are a content creator who covers FPSs and takes sponsored contracts for other studios, if you don't start your video off by saying, hey, by the way, I've been sponsored by 6 Days in Fallujah and Squad and fucking whoever else. If you don't start your video like that, legal problems are coming your way. Fucking horseshit. And honestly, it's coming from somebody who I think is so insecure about where their product actually is right now that they're trying to get ahead of all of the negative feedback that they're thinking they're going to get. The TLDR in this tweet is the most telling thing here. If you're just going to post fake content attacking games that don't pay you off, then quite frankly, I don't want you covering our game at all. So not only does he think that people are attacking his game when they give him, negative feedback, he calls it fake content. He believes in his heart of hearts that people like me, who, according to him, have been paid off by Delta Force, which I haven't been sponsored by Delta Force since it was first announced like a year and a half ago. We did like a one-off thing. He still believes that I'm getting paid under the table by Delta Force, and he believes that in that deal, I'm going to be attacking their competitors. He made an entire video a couple months ago talking about the fact that I was sponsored by Arena Breakout Infinite, while at the same time, all of that Unheard Edition shit was going on, and they were paying me to make hit pieces about Tarkov and talk about the Unheard Edition and how much bullshit there was there. He believes that Arena Breakout Infinite paid me to do that, which is just fucking asinine. But he fully, in his heart of hearts, believes that people who are sponsored by games like Squad and Arma and Battlefield and whatever else are making hit pieces and fake reviews talking shit about their competitors. Now, what proof does he have of this? Well, of course, he doesn't fucking have any, because the people that he's saying are getting paid under the table aren't disclosing it. So it's like this vicious circle where it's like, well, how can you get proof if they're not going to disclose it? But I know, trust me, I know. And if you're a creator that's being paid under the table and not disclosing it, and then you make a video on OHD, you have to make sure that you tell people or I'm going to fucking sue you. It's ramblings of a madman, and I hate it because my first introduction to Blue Drake was 11 years ago when I had a developer trying to silence me for my opinion on a video game and trying to threaten me with lawsuits so that I wouldn't critique them. And this is feeling like a really unfortunate but big, like, full circle moment in the worst way possible, that we now have Blue Drake out here threatening people with legal action, whether that's a lawsuit. I don't know what his plan is. If you don't disclose every single FPS sponsor that you've had in your video covering OHD. And at the time of recording and putting together this video, we have a 12-minute video from Blue Drake posted on Twitter. And I'm just gonna watch it and we're just gonna fucking talk about it here.
All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Connor, and today I am once again in the spotlight, and I wanted to clarify some things that a lot of people have been getting angry about when it comes to the FTC and trade commission guidelines. A few months ago, I made a post talking about how Delta Force was paying off content creators to do positive reviews of their game.
So yeah, he accused a bunch of creators, never named any of them except for me.
And those content creators were not disclosing it. I said that they had a program in the works for a while, and they were signing a lot of people to big money and not following all of the FTC guidelines. Now, after I posted that, there was this huge outrage with a whole bunch of content creators, many of whom were actually involved with these campaigns.
Notice how he keeps saying, many of whom, these creators, won't name anybody, but except for me.
Trying to drag my reputation through the mud, trying to call me a liar and saying that I was making all of this up. No less than 1 week after.
Oh, he's gonna bring up the Act Man. Right, yeah, that one was bad.
Me making that post, one of the largest content creators who signed these deals actually came forward and confessed that he had actually done this. He had taken a paid deal, he had done a paid review of Delta Force, praising it because they paid him, and he did not disclose it, according to FTC regulations.
To be clear, the Delta Force video was sponsored, and I should have made that clear.
Yeah, dude, honestly, this one definitely took a chip out of me when it came to the Act Man. Big fan, met him in New York, had a nice chat with him. Seeing him do this, especially during this time where Blue Drake was trying to get at me for doing what Act Man actually did, that one pissed me off.
I didn't. I don't know what I was thinking. There's really no excuse.
This is a fact. This has happened. So there's still a lot of people trying to say that I was lying about this.
You are lying when you are saying that I did that. When you name me, Connor, that's what I have a fucking problem with.
I want to make this clear. Delta Force paying off content creators to positively review the game who did not adequately disclose that's already been proven to be true. That's already been confessed by at least one major content creator.
One that you didn't name when you were talking about it. Funny how that works.
Who was paid $40,000 for that single video. Now, our game, Operation Harsh Doorstop, is going to be releasing a major update in the next couple of weeks. And we've been having this problem where there are a number of content creators that we personally know are signing big money contracts with other studios where their contract, in order to fulfill it, in order to complete it and get paid, is to create positive coverage for that game. This is something that I think the general public does not know much about, in the same way they didn't really know much about the Delta Force situation and Delta Force paying off content creators to make positive coverage and not disclosing it, which has been confessed. That is true. That is not even debatable anymore.
Oh my God.
Operation Harsh Doorstop, our game, is having issues where there are content creators who are on.
Don't you fucking dare say that people covering OHD are doing so in a negative light because they're being paid by your competitors. That is the biggest piece of cope. If you fucking say that, I swear to God.
Payroll with other studios who are doing reviews of our game.
Oh my God.
Comparing it to the game created by this other studio who they have been paid to promote without explaining to their audience that they are in fact on payroll with this other company.
The cope is so fucking real, Connor. Holy shit, dude.
And there are a wide variety of contracts that these content creators who are reviewing games like ours, but still getting paid by these other companies, have. The contracts can be single contracts for single videos, or Twitch campaigns where you have like an entire month, you have to stream a certain number of hours, or in some cases, they're just paid month to month. They just have a recurring salary, or they have something that is basically the exact same thing where they get one-off videos, but as long as those videos continue performing well, they just get renewed for new videos as long as they maintain positive coverage of the brand. Now, I have no problem with content creators getting paid contracts or even getting employment with other brands. In fact, in many cases, in order to maintain their lifestyle, it's absolutely unavoidable. I mean, unless they decide to live more humbly, which, hey, I mean, that's an option, but that's their right. It's their right to take contracts with these studios. However, going forward, myself, and by extension, our studio, is going to take a much more hardline approach when it comes to content creators who are taking payroll and are not disclosing that in content about the games that they are paid to promote.
What are you going to do about it?
Which they are not disclosing to their audience. So their audience are watching these videos and are not aware that the person that they are watching is a paid contractor, or in some cases a paid employee for that studio that they are comparing our game to.
That's like saying if Jack Frags did a sponsored video for Battlefield like a year ago, and then Call of Duty releases an update that fucks the game like recently, and Jack Frags makes a video on it, you're saying that Jack Frags has to then disclose, by the way, guys, 8 months ago, I was sponsored by Battlefield. That might influence my coverage. Fuck off, man.
Now, I want to be clear about this. Not every single instance of this is going to be something that our studio is going to be able to draw a hard line on or to pursue people for. But
just the negative ones, most likely, right?
For the sake of transparency, and I'm going to show my hand a little bit here, I'm going to outline a couple of situations where we may be able to actually pursue individuals who do this. And one of the biggest ones is if you are on some kind of active contract with these studios where you are getting recurring revenue, or if you have a contract where the language in that contract in any way,
again, he'll never be able to prove this unless he sees the contract you sign, but go off,
outlines responsibilities or deliverables where you are required to maintain a positive representation of this brand beyond individual pieces of content that they contract you for. If you have a contract like that and you make a video about another game, a similar game, or ours, and you, while making that review, bring that competitor product up in conversation. So let's say, for the sake of argument, let's say you have Tactical Shooter X, and Tactical Shooter X just paid you $20,000 to not just make a single video, but to also, in the contract, maintain a positive representation of the brand in different social media posts. You do that contract, even though the expiration for that contract, if you read it, is like a year. You make another video about a game like ours, or really any other game.
Our game.
In that video, while you are still technically under contract with this other studio, you bring up that studio's game where you say, hey, Tactical Shooter X is better than Operation Harsh Doorstop, or something of that nature. That's a gotcha. That is a gotcha. And I'm doing you all a favor by telling you guys this, because very recently the FTC has done a pretty major overhaul where they have introduced a wide variety of new rules and regulations, in part addressing the growing problem of companies using AI to create fake reviews, which a lot of you guys are contracting for companies that are absolutely doing that. But that's a...
You mean like fake YouTube channels ran by AI?
Separate issue. But in addition to those rules and regulations, lots of other rules and regulations that are very specific to situations like this. A lot of those new rules and regulations were introduced in October of 2024. So if you want to go refresh yourself on all of those, feel free. But
why don't you show the guidelines? Show what's changed, Blue.
The point is that just like the Delta Force situation, which after I made posts talking about that, content creators came forward and confessed that the thing
You lied about me, Blue.
that I said were true because they were on those contracts. This is yet another very similar problem, because this is a rampant issue throughout the industry, where the FTC is actively updating their rules and regulations to combat this, primarily because of influencers on TikTok that are finding ways to exploit loopholes with Federal Trade Commission guidelines. These are new things that are being introduced, and many of you all, depending on a number of things that you do, depending on the language of the contract that you sign, and
again, this is so unenforceable because he would need to be able to see the contract that you signed and then be able to prove that in a court. Like, dude, focus on game development, for Christ's sake.
how you make content
This is
surrounding
pathetic.
that product are very much likely going to be in violation of those guidelines. And both myself and many other studios are really, really tired of having to deal with multi-million-dollar corporations buying off the opinions of content creators and then watching those content creators say, well, I'm not going to cover your game positively unless you pay me $10,000.
Okay, so you say that. Who's telling you this, Blue? Is there a content creator that you know that has reached out to you that has said, oh yeah, by the way, I'm not going to cover your game unless you pay me?
And then after that, those same content creators go out, make videos comparing products like ours to products that they're being paid off to promote.
Give us some examples for the class, Blue.
And not telling people in those videos, hey, by the way, I took $40,000 2 weeks ago to promote this product. And as much as you guys might like to think, oh, I don't have to talk about the sponsorship that I took 2 weeks ago ever again, like I said, depending on the language of the contract. And I mean, honestly, just from a moral, ethical standpoint.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, he just realized halfway through that sentence that what he was saying was total horseshit. But go off, King.
You absolutely are required to do that.
But morally, you're required to do that, Sir Saint Blue Drake 42.
I don't know what to tell you.
Go off, King.
If you go and look at the FTC guidelines.
Well, why don't you show it? You keep mentioning it. Show it on screen. Oh, you can't, can you?
It's very explicit.
Oh, if it's explicit, he would have fucking shown it.
Have a material connection to a brand and you bring that up in marketing pieces, you have to disclose that connection. And in some cases, it's vague about its guidelines. I think because it wants
You just said it was explicit.
to be vague because it knows that people are going to try and find loopholes. So keep in mind,
Okay.
I am doubling down on my stance here, and I assure you that you all are not nearly as much in the right as you would like to think that you are. And I am trying to be very upfront ahead of time and give people warnings and say, hey, look, this is something that we are identifying, and if people continue to do this,
Holy fuck.
this is an exploit that very well may be illegal.
Oh, well, you said it was explicit, which means it would be illegal.
Other content creators have already come forward,
he's so
confessed,
full of
and given
shit.
back the money because they felt guilty about it. And there's more content creators that are still doing this. This is something that
Name them.
very well may be illegal, and we absolutely reserve the right, not necessarily to sue you.
What are you
I
gonna
think
do?
some people think that our objective is to file lawsuits.
What are you going to do about it?
There are other... all I'm going to say, I'm not going to show my whole hand.
For sure.
There are other legal actions that
Are you going to weaponize your audience to click an FTC link to report channels? You fucking goober.
can be taken that is not a direct lawsuit that would still force you to comply. I'll just say that.
Okay.
So if you want to stay in my good graces,
Ooh, well, how do I stay in Blue Drake's good graces?
if you don't want to have anything be a risk, this is what you will need to do.
Yeah,
as a
tell
content
me,
creator.
please.
First off, read your contracts, because there are a number of contracts from big title games that have language that I verified this, are way beyond a single video. You might think you're being contracted to make a single video, but you're not.
Okay.
There is a lot of words in these contracts, and I know for a fact that a number of them for contracts that people think is just for a single video is way broader than you realize. So that's number one.
Okay.
Second off,
thanks.
If you have taken payment, that's not the end of the world. I don't mind. I do not mind. If you make a video about our game, and if you bring into conversation the other game that has paid you, depending on the contract, depending on how you bring up that game and compare it to ours,
for sure,
you should disclose that that game paid you. So let's say you sign a $40,000 contract, and in that contract there are
the pocket watching is unreal. But anyway, go on.
Languages that require you to not disparage the brand, or in some cases, like, not ridicule the brand. I don't know. Some of these contracts are just like stupidly overbearing. And you have to continue doing that in order to get new contracts. If you've signed a contract like that, I mean, you should definitely know about it. But if you continue bringing that product up in videos about our game and say, hey, this game sucks, go play this game that I was paid to promote, and I'm still technically being paid to promote instead, don't do that. Or just say that you were paid. That's honestly the easiest and cleanest way out of this. If you just say, hey, and by the way, here.
Well, see, the conversation falls apart when you have guys like Blue Drake who are going out publicly saying that people like me are being paid by Delta Force. Blue Drake has tweeted this. He has said this in videos. He has said explicitly that I have a Delta Force contract that I am not telling people about. So now, for example, in Blue Drake's own guidelines, I cover OHD and I compare it to Delta Force. Blue Drake, who thinks I have a Delta Force sponsorship, what's he gonna say? Is he gonna mauled about it? Like, when you have no proof for anything you're saying, yes, I will give the Actman situation some credit. That one pissed me off, but I don't give a fuck about the Actman. I give a fuck about us two. You have been telling people that I have a deal. If I were to compare your game to Delta Force, would you take legal action against me?
This game, I have recently signed a $40,000 contract for this other game, so I might be biased, but here are what I believe my honest impressions are of this game. Easy, done, simple.
Cool.
So that's it. Feel free to take this video, I don't know, react to it, or don't, and just leave me alone. That would be fantastic too.
Man, isn't that pot calling kettle black?
But yeah, no, I'm pretty hardline on this.
Cool.
I'll see you guys soon, February 28th. Big updates coming out.
Yeah, nobody gives a shit. This all isn't being said because I'm being paid. This all isn't being said because I'm trying to get you to pay me. This isn't even being said because I'm developing a game myself. This video exists because you cannot live without feeling like a victim and needing your back against the wall. And so in order to get there, you just turn on people, you make up scenarios in your head, and then you talk about them as if they're fact. You tried to take me out with 2 videos last year. I responded in 2 different live streams, showing evidence, DMs, proof, timelines that have debunked absolutely everything you have said. And for the last 2 months, I have watched you tweet about me. You don't tag me because you blocked me on Twitter. I've blocked you. I have people that reach out to me every time you mention my fucking name, man. You've burned every single bridge in this industry, and you're malding now, making up excuses as to why people don't like playing your game. It isn't because we're paid by Squad, Battlefield, 6 Days in Fallujah, or Delta Force. It's because OHD kinda sucks. And this new update might be the most revolutionary update of all the updates ever, and the game might be in the greatest state ever. I don't know. Nor do I give a flying fuck. I'm in the same boat as you. There are people out there that are waiting in the wings to shit on my project as well. You know what I don't do? I don't threaten legal action. I don't cope. I don't seethe. We're busting our asses trying to make a game that stands on its own. And then we ignore this shit. But that's something you just can't fucking do. So as somebody who was there and watched you turn from somebody that I admired in this industry and one of the major YouTubers that I was watching when I started this channel, I watched you turn into one of the biggest jokes of this industry in less than a year. You started with the AI shit where you told YouTubers that you were going to replace them with AI. And then you wondered why is everybody mad at me? Then I watched you mauled and seethe for months on end about a Delta Force sponsorship that doesn't exist, to now threatening legal action, whatever that means to you, whether you're just going to report them to the FTC. I don't know. Holy shit, man. Take a step back and look at what the fuck you've become. The guy I'm watching in these videos is a shell of his former self. And maybe that's just what game development does to people. It eats them up. It shows you both sides of the industry, shows you the best, and it shows you the worst. I don't know. But what I do know is that the 28th is coming up very, very soon. And I'll see you in a few weeks.